எதனா க்ளூ அது ஒரு பறவை பேர் வரும் எனக்கு ஞாபகம் வந்துச்சு சொல்லிடப்பா.
If someone ever showed me that learning could be this much fun, I would have definitely paid more attention in school. This particular activity is called Feel and Guess. It's a stereo-agnostic test where a learner is blindfolded and asked to guess the name of a seashell by simply touching it. And this group right here is learning about Chennai's coastal fauna through a small group of nature-based educators.
Being an educator is very, very powerful. You can make a slight difference also, and that matters.
And something as simple as that, helping people understand the world around them, has a longer-standing impact that is often overlooked.
First thing is creating their connection with that landscape. Doing that itself gives them a sense of belonging to that. This is my place. There is so much in this place, and I have the right to protect it.
The need to protect our environment is one of the goals that these naturalists are striving for. But their work is connected to something bigger than all of us.
Where there is greater equality, there's greater climate justice, environmental justice, gender justice, and so on. So as such, we need to create more equal societies for the well-being of the whole.
So here's the story of Nikita, Ashwati, and Yuvan, a group of naturalists and nature educators from Palluyir Trust, whose main goal is to change the face of education through nature-based learning.
I'll just show you my the activity sheet that I did for my very first nature walk that I conducted as part of the urban wilderness walk internship.
One of the key skills she focuses on is enabling climate-vulnerable communities to simply ask questions.
The idea of asking questions won't just be restricted to the learning that happens there. It will also show up in other parts of their lives, where if there is a problem, a bigger issue, they will ask questions, and they will ask the right questions. If it was in the traditional classroom setup, then it will be like, okay, let me just read whatever they ask me to read, let me just learn whatever it is necessary for the exam, and they'll just ange mudinchu. Then it won't show up in other parts of their life. They'll just probably be apathetic or apolitical.
For, let's say, youth or adults, we look at it more from an advocacy point of view, where we look at the fun things also, but we look at the serious threats, what are the complexities which exist, as well as how we can take action and the tools we can afford.
By 2025, 100 meters of the Chennai's coastline is at risk of being submerged because of a projected 7 centimeter sea level rise. Protecting the coast and the communities that depend on it is one of their major focal points. They documented 5 important biodiversity hotspots: the Pulicat Lagoon, Adiyar Estuary, Kovalam Creek, Udaliyar Kuppam backwaters, and the Eriyanthittu Estuary.
So we started the coastal project with Madras Naturalist Society. We were a team of 6 of us. So we walked along the coasts of these 5 hotspots, documenting the flora and fauna of that place, documenting the local knowledge, the kind of fishing that people do, the kind of practices that the local fisherfolk had there, the kind of relationship that the people shared with that landscape and the ecology as such. Documenting biodiversity tells us about how important these places are. And another thing being that anytime any of these places are under threat by any sort of infrastructure or anything like that, this kind of documentation really helps in fighting that.
One of the byproducts of that project is the Coastal Fauna of Chennai Guide. They've worked on numerous areas to create such materials that they use for outreach activities and a variety of nature education programs, such as the urban wilderness walks and the youth climate internship.
The urban wilderness walks through Madras Naturalist Society, the idea of that is to support or create powerful nature and climate educators, young people, within the Chennai landscape. And they are involved in mobilizing public, doing citizen science, taking people on walks, and so on. The youth climate internship is for youth from climate vulnerable communities, coastal communities, domestic labor communities, Dalit communities, and so on, to understand deeply the issues in Chennai, be equipped with advocacy tools, legal knowledge, and be also good communicators and educators in this field.
Remember the Feel and Guess activity you saw a while back? It was specially curated for such programs. And coming up with such activities is no easy task and requires a lengthy preparation process.
So before conducting any session or a nature walk, we will first go and do a recce, and we will list down talking points. What are we going to talk about? And based on this, we will create an activity sheet. It won't just be one-way communication. You have to include activities that can involve people's senses. That is something they can listen to, something they can see. It will be something they will make, or such. It depends on the type of theme that we are choosing. And then we take people on a walk.
All of the material that they prepare or the sessions that they conduct are bilingual in nature, with an emphasis given to the local language, which is Tamil. And that's because more often than not, language is a powerful tool and is essential to make an impact.
And so if you look at the Tamil names, all of the Tamil names in this book are names that local fisher folk use. So that is where we got all of these Tamil names from. But it is very hard to document local language. But when you document local language, you are documenting local knowledge. And that's very, very crucial, and I find it very, very important.
Two things make that work important. One is, community's connection to it. Sometimes what we perceive is that when we bring in English, I remember a child saying, why should I learn English? It is perceived as an oppressive force, yeah? So there, even if I want to communicate something important, I need to find ways to do it in Tamil, one thing. Second thing is, the concept of mother tongue, what they experience as the mother tongue becomes the language in which the brain thinks within itself, unconsciously even. And so if there are certain concepts or words which need to seep in deep within the child's thinking, we need it in the mother tongue.
It has a very empowering effect on these young children that, it's my space, and my space is worth this much, like there's so much here, I should be proud of it, that kind of thing. And the second thing is it really, really improved their literacy. And that's when I really saw how powerful nature-based education can be for all children.
What they do is incredibly relevant and imperative to the Chennai landscape, as the city is declared the 7th most climate vulnerable city in the entire country. With rapidly changing urban landscape, not everyone faces the consequences of climate change similarly. Keeping that in mind, they're hoping to continue advocating for climate vulnerable communities and simultaneously focus on expanding their work in nature-based education.
Grabbing someone's attention for issues that we want them to be attentive to means telling them how it impacts them. You can't ask somebody to fight for a place without them really knowing why it's even there, why we need it.
We are telling, hey, see, you don't have to think of polar bears or melting ice caps to think about climate change. It is happening right in front of you. It is happening in Chennai, from wetlands to other ecosystems, organisms, everything. We are covering everything, and also we are including people in it.
And at the same time, we want to be able to work more intensely with marginalized communities, perhaps within a certain government framework, which will be able to scale up our work to, let's say, hundreds of schools, and also learn from the different challenges faced in different kinds of places and geographies. And I think that would create better literacy, perhaps create better climate adaptation, mitigation, all of that. But that requires perhaps 5 times, 6 times more funding than we have right now.
Every time I am very proud of myself or very proud of us as a group doing this work is when we see that one small spark in that one child who was probably just silent and just walking around, now is observing something so keenly, asking so many questions, building things, building relationships, building connections. When we see that shift in a child and we see that shift in that one person that we're working with, I think every time that happens, I'm very, very proud of what we do.
சேர்த்து சொல்லுங்க
முட்டை சங்க
ஆண்டி சேர்த்து சொல்லுங்க
முட்டை புறா சங்க
முட்டை சங்கு
புறா முட்டை சங்க சேர்த்து சொல்லு சேர்த்து போதும் கேம்ல போதும்